All right, let's trace a line from a simple, beeping metal sphere orbiting the Earth, all the way to a secret government project that allegedly sent kids back in time to witness the Gettysburg Address. It's a story that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, but it all starts with a very real moment in history. So, back in October of 1957, this question, well, it was on everyone's mind in America. The Soviet Union had just launched Sputnik, and that tiny beeping satellite orbiting overhead was basically a giant billboard declaring to the entire world that America was falling behind. The feeling wasn't just disappointment. No, this was national humiliation, and it was cold, hard fear. To really get the panic, you have to put yourself in that Cold War mindset. Sputnik wasn't just some cool science experiment. To Americans, that little satellite was a constant, orbiting reminder of just how vulnerable they were. The thinking was, if the Soviets could put a satellite up there, they could definitely put a nuclear warhead up there and drop it on any city on Earth. Suddenly, the sky itself just felt threatening.
And the reaction? Wow, it was fast. I mean, look at this timeline. The panic was immediate. We're talking just 4 months. 4 months after Sputnik's launch, and President Eisenhower creates a whole new agency, ARPA, which you probably know today as DARPA. Its mandate, born out of pure desperation, was incredibly simple. Make sure America is never, ever surprised by technology again.
So this desperation, this need for some kind of technological superweapon, drove the government to look for an edge literally anywhere they could find one. And that frantic search is what leads us right to the heart of this conspiracy, the supposedly stolen secrets of a long-dead genius. Okay, so let's talk about Nikola Tesla. When the brilliant inventor died back in 1943, the government swooped in and seized all of his research. We're talking 80 boxes of his life's work. But here's the thing. Years later, when his estate was finally returned to his family, some of it was missing. This number, 20, that's how many boxes of Tesla's incredible research just vanished. 20 boxes of pure genius, gone without a trace. And this, right here, is where the conspiracy theory really takes root. The story goes that those 20 missing boxes became the secret foundation for dozens of top-secret black projects. And look at the kind of stuff we're talking about. Weather control, directed energy weapons, mind control technology, and yes, even teleportation. All of it, supposedly, reverse-engineered from Tesla's lost notes. And all of that brings us to the most extraordinary claim of them all. A secret DARPA program allegedly born directly from Tesla's teleportation work. It was called Project Pegasus, and its goal was to use children to travel through time. The star of this whole story is the chrononaut. According to the legend, this wasn't some casual nickname. Nope, this was the official title given to the 140 children who were allegedly recruited and trained to become America's first time travelers. So you're probably wondering, how on earth did this supposedly work? Well, the process described is, weirdly, almost simple. The child would step between two huge 8-foot-tall metal pillars. The pillars would start to vibrate, the temperature in the room would just plummet, and the air itself would start to shimmer, creating what they called a vortal tunnel. The kid would just step into the tunnel, and that's it. They'd arrive at their destination, whether it was across the country or across a century. But here's where it gets really dark. There was a huge, catastrophic problem. Early tests with adult volunteers were apparently a total disaster. Their minds, being too fixed, too rigid in their understanding of reality, they just couldn't handle it. The stories say they either died, went insane, or in one really horrific telling, arrived in pieces, separated by just a few seconds in time. And their supposed solution is probably the most disturbing part of this whole tale. The researchers apparently concluded that only children, with their flexible, still-forming minds, could handle the paradox of time travel. Their brains could bend with reality instead of breaking. So they were seen as the only viable candidates for the program. This quote comes from Andrew Basciago, the man who claims he was one of those first child chrononauts. He's describing what he says was his very first mission as a 6-year-old boy, being sent back to November 19, 1863, to witness Abraham Lincoln deliver the Gettysburg Address. I mean, it is an incredible story. But this is the point where we have to pump the brakes and try to separate the wild fiction from the documented fact. Because here's the thing, while Project Pegasus remains a myth, the US government was running other secret programs that were, in their own way, just as strange. So let's put them side by side, the myth versus the reality. The claims of Project Pegasus, physical time travel, teleporting to Mars, child chrononauts, are totally unverified. But the US government really did have a program called Project Stargate. Its goal wasn't teleportation, but using psychic remote viewing to try and spy on Soviet targets from thousands of miles away. It was real, it was declassified, and the results were, well, officially they were inconclusive. Bizarre? Absolutely. But it's not quite time-traveling children.
Let's just start with the really basic science here, because this is a big one. The Pegasus story claims Tesla's machine was powered by plugging it into a regular wall socket. A wall socket. To teleport a physical object, let alone a person, the amount of energy required would be, well, astronomical. We're talking more energy than a star going supernova. The physics just don't add up. Not even close.
Then there's the problem of movement. You see, time travel stories almost never deal with this simple fact. The Earth is constantly hurtling through space at incredible speed. So if you jumped back in time by even a few minutes, let alone years, without perfectly accounting for the Earth's movement, you wouldn't land in Gettysburg. You'd materialize in the cold, empty vacuum of space, because the planet would already be millions of miles away.
And beyond the impossible science, the story itself has some issues. Over the years, key details in Bisiago's account have changed. The year he was recruited, the number of trips he took, the dates of his alleged jumps to Mars. And maybe the biggest red flag of all, his claim that he walked on Mars only came out after he had already published a paper analyzing NASA's photos of Mars, not before.
So if the science is impossible and the story keeps changing, why is it so compelling? Why do people want to believe this? Well, the answer has less to do with secret projects and a lot more to do with just human psychology.
At its very heart, the appeal of time travel isn't really about the physics. It's about hope. The whole fantasy taps into this deep, universal human desire, the wish to go back to fix our mistakes, to undo regrets. It's the ultimate second chance. And that's really the connection. This whole myth was born from a national anxiety, the fear of being beaten in the Cold War. But it survives today because it resonates with a much more personal anxiety, our own regrets, and the secret hope that somewhere there's a loophole in the universe that would let us fix our own past. So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. The myth of Project Pegasus was a perfect reflection of Cold War paranoia. It was a story for its time, which begs the question, what deep-seated anxieties of our time are fueling the grand conspiracy theories of today?